Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a connect dot, an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description of this video. And if you're so inclined to want a piece of artwork from me, I got hearts. They're huge, by the way. Coasters, pyramids, skulls, artwork, all that stuff you can find on AllyKatzkreations211.com. And you email me because sometimes you want something custom. Sometimes I might have sold what you want, but I can make it again. All that fun stuff, email me. I do everything privately. Before I get into Beyond Good and Evil, I just want to let everybody know the last week has been like the dark night of the darkest soul journey I've been taking. I also yesterday had an extreme migraine. I haven't had one of these in years. Nauseous, dizzy, I mean, head pounding hell, to say the least. I'm feeling much better today. I had to get out with the little bits of money that I do have. I had to pick up some food or like fruit and stuff I can afford, which was 2 bags. Not a lot, but I'm going through it. I'm going through a lot mentally, emotionally, physically. I'm going through hell. And it's just right that the Schumann resonance does this to us. You know, I don't feel like I'm alone in this. And that's something I want to let everybody know on my channel, that as much as I speak on the topics, like I'm going through it with you. I'm not, excluded out of any of that. Going through it. It's very difficult. It's painful. And I'm going to come out of it. I know I am. It's just a matter of mental gymnastics and healing. Fresh tea. Yeah. So universe is just like, hi, how are you? We're still on what is noble. It's a big chapter in this book. This is a very interesting section. And again, for those of you who are new, I jump around. I don't, especially with Nietzsche, there are things that I do not align with him. And that's only because of the time that he wrote this in and the perceptions of his culture. I'm not saying Germans are bad. I'm back when he wrote this work, things were perceived a bit different in society. Society was completely not like it is now. So I kind of skipped past those parts because there's really not much we could take away from. Are you ready? Because I totally am. What, in the end, is common? Words are acoustical signs for concepts. Concepts, however, are more or less definite image signs for often reoccurring and associated sensations for groups of sensations. To understand one another, it is not enough that one use the same words. One also has to use the same words for the same species of inner experiences. In the end, one has to have one's experience in common. Therefore, the human beings of one people understand one another better than those belonging to different peoples, even if they employ the same language, or rather when human beings have long lived together under similar conditions of climate, soil, danger, needs, and work. What results from this is people who understand one another. A people. In all souls, an equal number of often reoccurring experiences have come to predominate over experiences that come more rarely. On the basis of the former, one understands the other quickly, and even more quickly. The history of language is the history of a process of abbreviation, and on the basis of such quick understanding, one associates even more closely. The greater the danger is, the greater is the need to reach agreement quickly and easily about what must be done. Not misunderstanding one another in times of danger is what human beings simply cannot do without in their relations. Is every friendship or love affair one still makes this test? Nothing of that sort can endure once one discovers that one's partner associates different feelings, intentions, nuances, desires, and fears with the same words. Fear of the eternal misunderstanding, that is the benevolent genius which so often keeps persons of different sex from rash attachments to which their senses and hearts prompt them. This and not some Schopenhauerian, I love Schopenhauer, by the way, genius of the species. I'm going to put a pause right there. I talked about this a bunch of times about how words are interpreted and perceived differently by each and every one of us, and how our experiences shape us, our egos, our characters, our personalities. Yet at the same time, other people have similar experiences. When it comes to where I'm at in my spiritual journey, I'm not necessarily ahead, but I'm up there, if we want to put a label to it, with experience. I've seen demons, aliens. I've been the gatekeeper to a Stargate. I have more of an awareness of this stuff, and now people are just starting to wake up. So they're not where I am in awareness levels, where when I'm teaching, what I'm putting out there to people, most people won't perceive just yet, or won't even understand it. They won't comprehend it, or they're like, it's not applying to me just yet. You bitch. It's because you're not there in the awareness. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong, but I'm ahead of a lot of the information now being received. And the things I've said a year or 2 years ago, where it's now just being like, oh yeah, that was that, but I don't get credit, and that's fine. I just want you all to understand, many of you feel this way. I'm not alone in this feeling where you're having these experiences. You have commonalities with a small percentage of people right now, and it's really hard to try to explain what you're going through when people are just now awakening and they have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I know when I've gone through many dark nights of the soul, many of them right before the brink of change. I feel the worst. I am hit like a brick, like a Mack truck just slammed its brakes, and there I go, flying sparkle farts. Bye. That's me right now. I'm in that Mack truck just hit me. Now I'm flying through the void of space, trying to figure out where the fuck I'm landing. And it's very painful going through the flight and just being projected and not knowing if I'm hitting a brick wall or I'm going to hit some pillows. We don't know where I'm going. So I do feel a lot of us are feeling this in different types of ways. We can also look at this like on opposite sides of race. you know, when you're growing up in a community, you understand the theme of the community. Your experiences are based on that community. And then you get up and you move to somewhere else, and it's like a shock. Oh crap, this is how life is actually, right? Like culture shock, or moving to another country type shock. So like it's very similar to what he's saying when it comes to that. And you could feed into this really deeply when it comes to spiritual stuff in your soul. It could allude to that as well. A lot of us are finding a lot of these words I'm connecting with, we define our words so differently and in so many different ways. Like the love word can be meaning one thing to me and one thing to my partner, which is in the shit house right now, by the way. Hi, if you watch me, asshole. Yeah. Change is on the horizon. We'll see how it goes, but you know, when I hit rock bottom, it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm also physically going through some very scary shit right now as well. So that's why yesterday I kind of took my time to like chill. And I had no choice. I couldn't function yesterday. Which group of sensations is aroused, expresses itself, and issues commands in a soul most quickly, is deceived for the whole order of rank of its values, and ultimately determines its table of goods. The values of a human being betray something of the structure of his soul, and where it finds its conditions of life, its true need. Assuming next that need has ever brought close to one another only such human beings as could suggest, with similar signs, similar requirements, and experiences, it would follow on the whole that easily communicable and communicatability of need, which is the last analysis means the experience of merely average and common experiences, must have been the most powerful of all powers, or whose disposal men has been so far. The human beings who are more similar, more ordinary, have had and always have an advantage. Those more select, subtle, strange, and difficult to understand easily remain alone, succumb to accidents, being isolated and rarely propagated. One must invoke tremendous counter forces in order to cross this natural, all too natural progress in simile, the continual development of man toward the similar, ordinary, average, herd-like common. That's why there is a huge wave of us that incarnated on this planet for this time. We broke the mold. I'm way outside of the norm box. There's a lot of strangeness, weirdness, uniqueness that I exude on an everyday basis. I broke my ancestral mold. I broke family molds, and just everybody around me hurting. Well, I'm like the guy, just like, no, I'm going to look over there because that's cool. Many of us, even when we are amongst the norm, feel different. I did a TikTok about being the gatekeeper and how I came to that awareness after finding that out, and finding out literally on the soul level, the journey of who I am. That was the beginning for me of why I'm actually here. One of the many purposes, but for you, this is a self-discovery of, okay, so why am I different? What sets me apart from everybody else? Yes, you are the one unique expression from source, heaven, and experience. Totally get it. But what sets you so far apart from everybody else? What is unique about you? That's the goal, and what I'm trying to help everybody with is finding out your reason of incarnating. Why are you here? That's gonna take sometimes a lifetime to figure that one out. But it's a motivator, it's a journey of the soul. It's not something that could be answered quickly. I've been on this journey since I was a little child, trying to figure out why no one could see what I could see, why I was having things materialize in my hands that were disgusting. Like, why would that happen to me? Why, to this day, do I put my heart and my soul out and the reception coming back energetically is no? What is it that I need to change in my environment, my paradigm, my thinking, so that I'm not just getting meh, I'm getting the abundance that I put out into the world. It takes a village. And there is more than enough of us now coming to this village. We're all migrating. We're taking the pilgrimage of the soul. We're all coming together and trying to figure this out at right now. So me being hit by that Mack truck and I'm still in mid-flight, I'm in air, I'm flying, right? A lot of you feel the same way. We didn't get to that village just yet. We're on our journey and we keep getting little knockbacks because we need to look at a bigger picture. I'm being asked right now to look at a bigger picture. What am I missing? I don't know just yet. It hasn't come to my, into my perception. But each and every one of us has to start somewhere. And I want to give you the tools. Yeah, it is very painful at times, like physically painful. It is also very mentally exhausting and draining because you don't know who has your best intentions. You don't know who has your best and highest. When I say to be the shoulder for somebody, I just don't mean it like, here. No, like be the fucking physical shoulder for somebody to lean on. I've been the shoulder for so many people, but when I need the shoulder, like everybody is MIA, missing, not in action. Just want nothing to do with me. They only want me when I can provide something for them. I'm not saying everybody in my life. I'm just saying this is general. This is a theme that has been coming up in my life. And I feel a lot of you feel very similar to me. That's why I express it and I talk about personal stuff, because I want you to relate in some form or fashion. You might have a different circumstance, but that feeling is similar. And how do we walk these experiences together as a village of people who have a common understanding of this, of the topic? I'm gonna skip this part. Skipping. Did I finish this part? Skippins. Okay, found the good part. For the corruption, the ruination of the higher men of the souls of a stranger type is the rule. It is terrible to have such a rule always before one's eyes. The manifold torture of the psychologist who has discovered this ruination, who discovers this inner hopelessness of the higher man, this eternal too late in every sense, first in one case and then almost always through the whole of history, may perhaps lead him one day to turn against his own lot, embittered, and to make an attempt at self-destruction, may lead to his own corruption. They're talking about psychologists here, so I kind of skipped the half of the beginning of that. This is the dark night of the soul. I've been through this many times, and at many times I didn't realize when I was younger when I was on the precipice of a major change or a shift in my life, like my parents dying, me losing jobs, just mentally gone, we all hit these depressive states. They're to show us, they're to be an example of a lesson. But when you're in the thick of these emotional states and these emotional avenues that our soul takes for us to see a bigger picture, it can lead to destruction. And it opens up the window for negative energy to come in and play with you. And I know I've been battling that the last week. I've been going outside as much as possible without it storming and lightning, and meditating and grounding. I've been putting up my plasmic shield like nobody's business, because the self-destructive components of my negative self comes into wanting, hey, Allison, do you want to go finish that bottle of wine that's been sitting there that you haven't touched since your birthday? Hey, Allison, what did your mother do to herself? I would never do such things, but these are the things that other self back in the day would have taken. I would have polished off. I used to be an alcoholic. I'm Irish. Can tolerate a lot. But I stopped doing all those things because those were just escapes. Those made me numb. And I like being numb because I'm very creative in my numb state. Because I could care the F less. I'm going and I'm doing me. But that's not healthy. And it can lead you to these destructive thoughts. When you are in the thick of a change and you are in the dark night of the soul and you are getting hit hard with a lot of emotional imbalance, in harmony, and some of this stuff is logically, rationally happening. It's not like it's not. You can't ignore it. You got to transmute it. Where's the lesson? How do you move forward? How do you persevere through the yuck to get to the dry road? That's the journey of the dark night of the soul. That's confronting your negative self. That's owning the crap that you feed yourself. I'm not worthy. Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening for you? Why did I contract that into my life? Take the emotional shit out of it. That's the hardest part, when it's people that you care about, and people, places, things that support, that you would hope supports you. These are the things you need to analyze, and these are the hardest aspects of going through it. Like, I got hit by a Mack truck with energy. I had to sit as I'm flying. I'm still flying. I'm not down or landed yet. I'm still alchemizing my thoughts. I'm still analyzing what and why I feel the way that I do. What's going on with me physically? Why don't I feel supported? Why? The big whys, the deeper why questions. Now I got to sit with the eagle eyes view, looking down and seeing how everybody's playing their role and what purpose is their reactions towards me, and how do I change? Sometimes you did nothing wrong. It's just something you need to see. Sometimes you are the lesson for other people to learn from. So you might be going through hell, but it's a catalyst for other people to change their behavior, to bring it forward. So we got to be compassionate, but yeah, at the same time, get this work done. In almost every psychologist, one will perceive a telltale preference for a delight in association with everyday, well-ordered people. This reveals that he always requires a cure, that he needs a kind of escape and forgetting. Away from all that with which his insights, his incisions, his craft have buried his conscience. He is characterized by fear of his memory. He is easily silenced by the judgments of others. He listens with an immobile face as they venerate, admire, love, and transfigure where he has seen, or he even conceals his silence by expressively agreeing with some foreground opinion. Perhaps the paradox of his situation is so gruesome that precisely where he has learned the greatest pity, coupled with the greatest contempt, the crowd, the educated, the enthusiasts, learn the greatest veneration, the veneration for great men and prodigies, for whose sake one blesses and honors the fatherland, the earth, the dignity of humanity and oneself, and to whom one refers young, toward whom one educates them. And who knows whether what happened in all great cases so far was not always the same, that the crowd adored a god, and that god was merely a poor sacrificial animal. Success has always been the greatest liar, and the work itself is a success. The great salesman, this great statesman, the conqueror, the discoverer, is disguised by his creations, often beyond recognition. The work, whether of their artist or the philosopher, invents the man who has created it, who is supposed to have created it, great men. As they are venerated, are subsequent pieces of wretched minor fiction in the world of historical values, counterfeit rules. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get this one part. With souls in which they usually try to conceal some fracture, often taking revenge with their works for some inner contamination, often seeking with their high flights to escape into forgetfulness from an all too faithful memory, often lost in the mud and almost in love with it, until they become like the will-o'-wisps around swamps and pose as stars. The people may then call them idealists, often fighting against a long nausea with a reoccurring specter of unbelief that chills and forces them to languish for a glory and to gobble their belief in themselves from the hands of an intoxicated flatterers. That torture are these great artists and all the so-called tiremen for anyone who has guessed their true nature. It is easy to understand that these men should so readily receive from women, clairvoyant in the world of suffering and unfortunately also desirous far beyond her strength, to help and save those eruptions of boundless and most devoted pity, which the multitude, above all, the venerating multitude, does not understand, and on which it lavishes inquisitive and self-satisfied interpretations. This pity deceives itself regularly about its powers. Women would like to believe that love can achieve anything. That is her characteristic faith. See, he hates women like bad. But there's some truth in what he is saying. We got all of us, not just women, but men as well, need to know that love is a frequency, and it's a frequency of source. Once we can obtain that actual frequency, hold it, keep it, and love in unconditional form, not in I love you, sparkle farts and unicorns. That what you're saying is actually what you're emoting in your frequency in your field. That unconditional love, regardless of what others do to you or not do for you, you're still expressing that frequency, understanding that in their awareness, they are not aware of the needs that you have, or vice versa. I gotta skip that part too. This is a very good book, by the way. I can't read everything in here. Just know let's see what I can piece from this. Hang on. Okay. I'm going through with it. Yeshua. Life. There lies concealed one of the most painful cases of the martyrdom of knowledge about love. The martyrdom of the most innocent and desirous heart, never stated by any human love, demanding love, to be loved and nothing else, with hardness, with insanity, with terrible eruptions against those who denied him love. The story of a poor fellow, unsated and insatiable in love, who had to intent hell in order to send it to those who did not want to love him, and who finally, have gaining knowledge about human love, had to invent a God who is all love, all ability to love, who has mercy on human love because it is so utterly wretched and unknowing. Anyone who feels this way, who knows this about love, seeks death. But why pursue such a painful matter, assuming one does not have to? Yep, that was not easy to read. The spiritual haughtiness and nausea of every man who has suffered profoundly, it almost determines the order of rank how profoundly human beings can suffer. His shuddering, certainly, which permeates and colors him through and through, that by virtue of his suffering he knows more than the cleverest and wisest could possibly know, and that he knows his way and has once been at home in many distant, terrifying worlds of which you know nothing. This spiritual and silent haughtiness of the sufferer, this pride of the elect of knowledge, of the initiated, of the almost sacrificed, finds all kinds of disguises necessary to protect itself against contact with obstructive and pitying hands, and altogether against anything that is not its equal in suffering. Profound suffering makes noble its separates. Yes. And what stems to my mind is when people who are going through something, doesn't matter what it is, well, somebody and some other person says, well, somebody has it worse than you. You're just told somebody F your feelings because someone has it worse than you. You just ignored and kind of like rejected that person's feelings. Doesn't matter who has it worse than you or has it better than you. You're going through something. Why is it being ignored? Doesn't matter how small or how large. And there is a lot of people in the spiritual community who kind of tout this kind of inadvertently. What separates two people most profoundly is a difficult sense and degree of cleanliness. What avails all decency and mutual usefulness and good will toward each other, in the end, the fact remains they can't stand each other's smell. The highest instinct of cleanliness places those possessed of it in the oddest and most dangerous lonesomeness as saints, for precisely this is saintliness, the highest spiritualization of the instinct. I only read that, and I'm not reading any further, but this is another point that we ought to look at. When we are looking in society, there are very highly spiritual and amazing souls that happen to be homeless or happen to be on the streets, not quite of sound mind, but they have gifts, and we look at them, and society, not us as an individual person here, say, will go, "Ooh, get away from me, you stinky." Someone looks unclean. What does that mean? Not just because they went to work that day and worked with tar and dirt, but actually physically don't clean themselves. There is a ton of people in society nowadays that are homeless, that are on the brink of becoming that, and have to rationalize when it is the availability to have water to be cleaning and whatever have you. That doesn't take away from somebody's knowledge or their experience and what they can give to you in a learning, teaching capacity. I saw this in New York. I had more profound conversations with people that were on the streets, that were homeless, than average, everyday educated people. They just view the world the same way that I do. They people watch, they analyze. And it's very interesting to hear the difference in the dynamics between both. But what a lot of people do nowadays is judge based on outwardly appearances, and or point fingers and shame and blame for what someone had a hard time, and that's the lesson they needed to learn from. But why aren't you being the shoulder for them if you have the means to be the shoulder? We also look at people that can't eat cleanly. Oh, you have to have a high veggie diet and a high this diet. And why are we still judging people based on what they eat or what they consume? We got to stop doing that too as a society. Why does it matter? It's not going in your mouth. Only control what means you have. And sometimes those means, like I'm in that right now again. I get what I get, and I can't get upset. I just purify my food with my thoughts. I put my hands over my food and give Thanksgiving. I don't feed into, that's poison, it's gonna kill you, it's gonna cause the C word. People have smoked their whole lives and never gotten the C word. And then some people who's never picked up a cigarette gets it. Like, go ask yourself, how does that work? A human being who strives for something great considers everyone he meets on his way either as a means or as a delay, an obstacle, or as a temporary resting place. His characteristic high-grade graciousness toward his fellow man becomes possible only once he has obtained his heightened rules. I see a lot of this. Impatience and his consciousness that until he is ready and is always condemned to comedy, for even war is a comedy and conceals, just as every means conceals the end, spoil all his relations to others. This type of man knows solitude and what is most poisonous in him. The problem of those who are waiting, it requires strokes of luck and some that is incalculable. If a higher man in whom the solution of a problem lies dormant is to get around to action in time to eruption, one might say. In the average case, it does not happen, and in nooks all over the earth sit men who are waiting, scarcely knowing in what way they are waiting, much less they are waiting in vain. Occasionally, the call that awakens that accident, which gives the permission to act, comes too late. When the best youth and strength from action has already been used up by sitting still, and many have found, to their horror, when they leaped up, that their limbs had gone to sleep and their spirit had become too heavy. It is too late, they said to themselves, having lost their faith in themselves, and henceforth forever useless. Yes and no. Everything happens in divine orchestration, but there is learnings to happening when you're not taking the bulls by the horn and the reins and taking that leap of faith. I had to take that leap of faith. I didn't know where I was going. I had to sell my house. I had no direct, clear plan about how or what it looked like. I just went with it. And I ended up where I did. All divine orchestration. I gave and released the control. So I was wanting to control all aspects of it, but I had to let the universe do its thing. We're at that time now where we need to really start doing the work on ourselves, not because you're going to get left behind, because the earth, Gaia, her frequency needs you. You're going to be the way shower for other people. It's a forever big link. It's a chain that it starts from somewhere and then it all comes down and it hits all of us at different times. And as we are shedding this information, that chain, it goes down, and more people hear it, listen to it, they spread it, and then it keeps spreading the help, the understanding, the knowledge. And it's spoken in different frequencies so that not just the high frequency people get it, it's everybody getting it. It takes all of us. And we do have to be patient with certain things. We have to be patient with ourselves and forgiving of ourselves and others. But sometimes when you're complacent, when you're waiting for outside external things to happen because someone told you it would and it never happened, why aren't you taking action where you have the power to invest in yourself? Why are you waiting around for a financial collapse or for an RV to happen? I'm giving those again as an example because that's what most people focus their energy on. Why are you waiting for who's going to be here and who's in that office and what's going on? It's a clown show. It's a movie. Why are you worried about it? Yeah, it's entertaining. It's fun. But what are you doing physically to put action into motion to manifest a better world? When you're waiting on outside things, events, someone dictated to you outside of your paradigm, oh, this is going to happen, this is this and this is that, and are you manifesting their agenda or are you manifesting your reality? All of us are going to go through these dark nights of the souls in the thick of shit and feeling like shit, and we're all going to go through it, and some of us have gone through it multiple times. We're shedding the old systems, the old programs are coming out of us, the cycles that we're looping. Some of the cycles are unconsciously, now we're just seeing it and like putting the putting the numbers together and going, oh, I'm in it again. I'm in a cycle, and I now I'm seeing the pattern repeat. I'm like, okay, where do I stop? How do I stop this? What do I do? right? And it's learning how to acknowledge that you seeing a cycle repeat itself and then figuring out a different method on how to stop it, because that method before didn't stop it, right? You gotta take the bulls by the horn and move with it and not against it. How do we stop this circus from continuing? It's up to us to stop feeding both sides of the narrative, both sides of the same coin. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So what do we do to move the flow that is natural in nature? How do we flow with that and get things rolling in the positive direction, in the light direction? We're going through the dark night of humanity's soul right now. Where do we stop the cycle from repeating itself? You got to do the work in order to be the lighthouse, in order for it to shine in the darkness. Humanity's vast, with multidimensional layers, interdimensional layers. Are you stepping into your mission as a light being? And it, as much as that's not really what Nietzsche's saying here, it is to the extent that we have to strive for better. We have to take what is the anxiety, what is the negatives, and transmute it and alchemize it to our best and highest excitement. Like, you're anxious. Okay, so why are you anxious? Okay, so this is a learning opportunity. Let's get excited about exploring it. Like, I had to sit there and alchemize the weeks long of, why do I feel this way? Okay, but it's not coming. Okay, so I'm just gonna meditate and do me. Why do I feel this way? What is coming up? And analyzing each and every one of those things that is really bothering me, and seeing how I can learn, extract what I need, and leave the rest and let it go and say, okay, you're not a part of this. Goodbye. And move forward. Once we can do that and do the work, it doesn't happen overnight. Number one, it takes time. But it's taking these steps in the first place. It's taking the exact steps to recognize and acknowledge that, hey, you're not feeling great. Stop what you're doing and figure it out, okay? And you can't figure it out. I don't know why. Okay, go into contemplation. Sit and reflect. Something got me to this point. What do you think it is? Speculate if you need to. This is the cycle that we need to perpetually grasp on bigger scales. And we're all doing the mini work and on our own selves. We get to the root of the deeper questions of, how do we stop the cycle from repeating itself in humanity? How do we stop the nonsense from happening over and over in different ways? Because that's how catalysts work. You don't get it in one life, it shows up in another situation, very similar, but different in another life, to try to teach you a different way. So we're in this cycle. How do we stop it? How do we get it to go away with whatever it is? And it's a circus sideshow attractions that are happening that we give our energy to. How do you stop giving your energy to it? Figure it out. Figure out the catalysts. Why? The whys, the deep whys. Nietzsche brings up some very good points. We need to see both sides of the coin, understanding it's the same coin at the end of the day. that sucks sometimes to have that realization come at you. Here's some little short ones from him. Anyone who does not want to see what is lofty in a man looks that much more keenly for what is low in him and mere foreground, and thus betrays himself. Stop comparing yourself to others. Bad enough. The same old story. When one has finished building one's house, one suddenly realizes that in the process, one has learned something that one really needed to know in the worst way before one began. The eternal, distasteful, too late, the melancholy of everything finished. Wanderer, who are you? I see you walking on your way without scorn, without love, with unfathomable eyes, moist and sad, like a sounding lead that has returned to the light, unsatiated from every depth. What did it seek down there? With a breast that does not sigh, with a lip that conceals its disgust, with a hand that now reaches only slowly. Who are you? What have you done? Rest here. This spot is hospitable to all. Recuperate. And whomever you may be, what do you like now? What do you need for recreation? Name it. Whatever I have, I offer to you. Recreation, you are inquisitive. What are you saying? But give me, please. What? Say it. Another mask. A second mask. Men of profound sadness betray themselves when they are happy. They have a way of embracing happiness as if they wanted to crush and suffocate it. From jealousy, alas, they know only too well that it will flee. Wow. Will people believe me? But I demand that they should believe me. I have always thought little and badly of myself, only on rare occasions, only when I had to, always without any desire for this subject, more than ready to digress from myself, always without faith in the result, owning to an unconquerable mistrust of the possibility of self-knowledge, which went so far that even the concept of immediate knowledge, which theoreticians permit themselves, I sense a contricto in objecto. This whole fact is almost the most certain thing I do know about myself. There must be a kind of aversion in me to believing anything definite about myself. Does this perhaps point to a riddle? Probably, but fortunately none from my own teeth. Perhaps it betrays the species to which I belong, but not to me, and I am glad. Interesting. Here, the vision is free, the spirit exalted, but there is an opposite type of man who is also on the height and also has free vision, but looks down. That's a good one. I'm going to read one more. The greatest events and thoughts, but the greatest thoughts are the greatest events, are comprehended last. The generations that are contemporaries with them do not experience such events. They live right past them. What happens is a little like what happens in the realm of stars. The light of the remotest star comes last to men, and until it has arrived, men denies that there are stars there. How many centuries does a spirit require to be comprehended? That is a standard too. With that too, one creates an order of rank and etiquette that is still needed for spirit and star. I'll let you tangle that one. Unwrap it. So that was genius. Not everything is tangible in your universe. We have material objects, like I created this. It came from a thought in my head, and oh, I'm going to mix these colors to make this and put it in a mold. I'm going to orchestrate different orders of flowers and create something beautiful. That came from a thought. But there are some things that are untangibly seen. Like I said if I didn't get a picture of a Draco, no one would ever see. And some people still to this day can't see what I pictured from the Stargate in my house. I put pictures of demons and spirits out there once in a blue moon, and some people see it and some people absolutely can't. Right. But that's the thing. What is untangible to your two physical senses will be picked up by your other 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 senses. If you go and do the work within, you'll start experiencing different things. You'll start having experiences, dreams, and visions, and whatever have you. Each of us operates differently. It's up to us to really analyze ourselves. Be critical of yourself, but be gentle and compassionate and say, okay, where do I need to make the change? What's within me that makes me feel this way? Analyze it, go within, be your own psychologist. When we can do that, we won't be so critical on other people, but we also have to put up boundaries as well. We can't just sit there and let everybody walk all over you. You can't just give your energy away freely without feeling the return. And that's where I know I'm sitting at. It's like, okay, I do so much for so many people. Where's the limit for that to stop? Because I'm not getting the return that I need to sustain. Physically in the 3D, I am not getting enough substance energy back. I have faith in the universe that things will be fine, and I'm letting it go. But in the same direct motion, where do I need to put my boundaries up and start saying no? What do I need to do in order to have an equal exchange? And not everything has to be equal. But where is that exchange even not occurring in my life? And that's something I need to figure out. And a lot of people are in the same boat as well. It's difficult, but it's not unachievable, to say the least. But a lot of us are going through the thick of things. I know I'm still flying in the air, transmuting as I go, shining my lighthouse, trying to find the tribe that's going to suit best me in moving forward. Because the tribe that I'm with now are only stuck in this one pattern of expression, and I need different expressions. I could still be a part of this tribe, but I need different expressions. I need different people, different experiences to bounce off of. I feel like I'm stuck. So I need to move myself and figure it out. And that's the hard part. It's going into the uncomfortability of, okay, so this isn't serving me anymore. What will serve me? We'll all come to that crossroads at some point in your journey. What is serving and what is no longer serving you, or what is only semi-serving you? Okay, so you need to expand your reach. And I think a lot of us are in that, trying to find it. But guys, I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. Thank you for supporting me and honoring that I'm going through the thick of things. I need some time to recuperate my energy and really do a lot of the inner work that takes time and patience to getting myself back to best and back to my higher energy form. Because right now, I'm riding that roller coaster and it's still dipping down. You know, got hit by the Mack truck and I'm doing that as I'm trying to leap forward. So go within, heart align, use it, be the shoulder for someone to lean on, be the lighthouse to shine for others, seed your truths, grow your garden, be the warrior in the garden. And I hope all of you have a fantastic day. Please be safe, be seen, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.